So after all this kerfuffle, a man who does not need any introduction anymore. Okay, the floor is yours.
So, I apologize. This is the first conference I've ever been to that was running ahead of schedule. So, I was supposed to be on in about 20 minutes, and then I got word, so I ran over. So I'm really sorry. Also apologies that our global Director of Business Development, Andy Cobb, couldn't be here for this. He is in Montreal. He's just a little under the weather this morning, so he asked me to fill in. I don't think he realized I was going to be late. But my name's Tom Hoyt. I am head of ID regional head of ID for DeLaRue in Latin America and the Caribbean. So I'd like to greet the representatives from the Caribbean y también un cordial saludo a los representantes de los países de Latinoamérica. So I'm going to switch back to English before the interpreters get mad at me. So for those of you who don't know DeLaRue very well, we're probably best known for printing banknotes and passports. We're the largest printer of both of those, commercial printers of both in the world. But we've been doing identity management systems, developing identity management systems for over 20 years now, and have deployed them in 50 different countries. I'm here to talk about something that one of the key concepts that we're trying to promote here is establishing a secure identity before issuing all sorts of very sophisticated documents, such as the ones that we produce, passports and ID cards, and even digital identity, mobile ID, mobile passport. These are all obviously very important elements, as are biometrics of identity management. But if you haven't established someone's true identity at the start of that process, obviously none of that really means very much. And I think we had a speaker yesterday that addressed some of these points, the importance of evidence of identity. So that's kind of going to be the theme of my presentation here. And so I'll be perfectly honest, I don't completely understand that graphic, but I think the message is clear, which is that we are all on a journey towards e-government. So governments are trying to implement more and more, make more and more services available online to their citizens to basically be more efficient, in some cases save money, but also to provide better service to their citizens. So obviously you're quite familiar with those trends, as well as the fact that there's an increasingly broad range of choices to be made in terms of technology and how to implement them. With that obviously comes some risks, and that's also one of the things we want to talk about here. This presentation, DeLaRue is a 200-year-old British company. Perhaps we have a history of innovation. We've actually developed the first ATM, for instance. On our booth, we're showing some new polycarbonate features that are very cool, but we're also known as being somewhat conservative and careful in our approach to things. I think when it comes to identity management, that's very important. We've seen some recent examples of how things can go wrong with large-scale government EID programs, where an entire country's population was exposed to security risks due to not having a solid foundation. So, we've taken a little bit of a step back here and looked at what do we need to do as we're pushing forward with this new technology, which is increasing risks, to make sure that the underlying foundation is secure. So I'm moving these slides forward. I realize there's hardly any text on the slides, and so you're just probably having to just listen to me talk without the benefit of following along on the slides. But there's definitely with mobile ID and mobile banking, a lot of excitement about these trends. But we've also seen some examples of where those have gone wrong. So I think I talked about that. In terms of establishing a person's identity, I think the key here is to have good data and to have that data easily accessible for the people that are going to need to use it. And so that is something that we have tried to do, and I'm going to talk about a specific project that we are involved in. One of the other issues that we're trying to solve here is being able to better target government services through basically, when you're talking about whether it's health or education or eliminating poverty, better data allows governments to make better decisions and provide better service to their customers. So we are in the process now of developing, rolling out a solution in Antigua and Barbuda. Unfortunately, I know they're here, but they're not here at the moment. And I'm sort of glad because it should say and Barbuda, and we didn't say that in the presentation, in the slide here. We are implementing so the government of Antigua and Barbuda is going to be rolling out a lot of e-government services. They have a plan for this, and they recognize the same problem I was alluding to in terms of really, before they can start offering these services, need to have a better handle on people's identity. So we are working with them to implement a civil registry and vital statistics solution that I'll go into in a little bit more detail, but the idea is that that's going to allow them to more confidently offer these types of services to their citizens because they know who people are, and this is a country too that has a fairly large, in terms of relative to its population, large diaspora. So there's people living in other countries who need to have an identity established to be able to exercise their rights as citizens of the country, whether that's inheritance rights or land property rights and so on. One of the key elements of this project was the involvement of stakeholders from many different organizations, both within and outside of the government. There are actually, I think, 25 identified external stakeholders, including the Passport Office, but as well as the Social Security Service, all sorts of government benefit offices, the High Court, churches involved in notifying the civil registry of marriages, hospitals, midwives who are going to be notifying the civil registry of births and deaths. And so the government there and one of the leading ministries, the sponsors of this project, got all of these, some early input. This has been going on for actually almost 2 years now, getting some early input from all of these different stakeholders, involving them in the process, and also we've been working very closely with them to really understand the specific requirements that they have and be able to implement this CRVS solution. So that solution is based on our core DLR Identify identity management software. It's the same software we use to issue identity documents such as passports and ID cards, but it's obviously been adapted to be a civil registry solution that allows registering of births, deaths, marriages, divorces, adoptions. One of the key aspects is that it allows you to link identities. So obviously with the parents at the time of birth, you're actually linking identities within the system. So it's an identity-centric solution that really, in a sense, becomes a central repository of identity information for the citizens of the country. One of the things that we're implementing as part of this project is a portal for these external stakeholders that they will use to both to notify the civil registry of some of these life events, as well as, and this is probably the more important part for something like the Passport Office, is to be able to verify a person's identity. So having a web portal that with established users that have a specific role and privileges in the system, so people are only seeing the information that is relevant to their agency or relevant to their role, but basically accessing that information to verify a person's identity. Initially, they'll be using photographs as well, but it will become more of a biometric solution as it moves forward. There's already a biometric element to it. It's just going to be part of a later phase. So that, along with the identity linkages, provides a greater, and all the other information that's being put into the system, creates what I would call more of a context around someone's identity, gives you a higher level of confidence as to who that person is, rather than just relying upon an identity document.